Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Entrepreneur, and let's talk about Amazon buying Whole Foods. Now, I want to stay upfront. I was against Amazon buying Whole Foods right from the get-go. Of course, I don't like Amazon. I believe they are monopolistic. I believe they are dangerous. And I was concerned for the people at Whole Foods, not only because of what Amazon could potentially do to the supermarket industry, like they could actually lower their prices below the competitions. They would lose money. Other stores who need to make money to survive can't compete and they would go out of business. Now, the first thing Amazon did was, of course, slash prices. The other thing I was worried about is what would happen to the workers. Amazon has a very, very poor track record of how they treat their employees, third-party sellers. I have griped about them many, many times on how they treat me personally as a seller on Amazon, and it's not pretty. And there have been documentaries made of abhorrent working conditions at Amazon boxing facilities. Well, apparently those fears are very well founded, as a article from Business Insider reports. As you can see, the article is titled, "Seeing Someone Cry at Work is Becoming Normal. Employees say Whole Foods is using scorecards to punish them." Oh, scorecards. Boy, I will definitely discuss the scorecards. So, Whole Foods has a new inventory management system aiming at making stores more efficient and cutting down on food waste. And employees say the retailer's method of ensuring compliance is crushing morale. Now, first of all, let's get something off the bat first. Oh, wow, that's what happens when you don't have the lock on the screen. Sorry about that. It's not a bad thing to cut down on waste. It just is not. If you come in and you find you're doing something inefficiently, you can do something to help reduce the waste, that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. But is Amazon doing it the proper way? The way that makes it so that it is not super stressful? Well, let's see here. The new system called Order to Shelf, or OTS, has a strict set of procedures for purchasing, displaying, and storing products on store shelves and in back rooms. To make sure stores comply, Whole Foods relies on scorecards that evaluate everything from the accuracy of signage to the proper recording of theft or shrink. Again, this actually isn't anything new. When I worked at Disney, if you had to trash something, you would, make a note of it. Now, to my knowledge, you didn't get punished for doing that. I don't think they even really noticed unless you did an unusual amount of waste. But this isn't unusual. Some employees who walk through stores with managers to ensure compliance describe the system as onerous and stress-inducing. Conversations with 27 current and recently departed Whole Foods workers, including cashiers and corporate employees, some of whom have been with the company for nearly 2 decades, say the system is seen by many as punitive. And that's where we're going to be having the problem. See, again, when I worked at Disneyland, we had a system for keeping track of what things you had to spoil. But as far as I was aware, it wasn't punitive. I think one guy got talked to because he, spoiled like 2 full tubes of ice cream, and he kind of had to explain why. But that was the only thing I had heard about it. Continuing. They say many employees are terrified of losing their jobs under the new system, and that they spend more hours mired in OTS-related paperwork than helping customers. Sounds about right. Some are so fed up with the new system that they have quit or are looking for other jobs. In addition to hurting morale, OTS has led to food shortages across wholesale for Whole Food stores, they say. Yeah, we're going to... On calls with investors, Whole Foods executives said that the OTS has helped cut costs, reduce shrink, clear out storage, and enable employees to spend more time engaging with customers, even though the customers have just clearly stated that they're spending most time with paperwork, but whatever. And employees, as well as outsiders, have said the company's decentralized system was inefficient and needed a change. Again, like I said earlier, you need to keep track of this stuff. But the new system goes too far, according to the employees who spoke with Business Insider. Quote, "The OTS program is leading to sackings up and down the chain in our region," said an employee of a Georgia Whole Foods. "We've lost team leaders, store team leaders, executive coordinators, and even a regional vice president. Many of them have left because they consider OTS to be absurd. As an example, store team leaders are required to complete a 108-point checklist for OTS. Now, I'm no expert I've never worked at a supermarket. I am mainly going to bring up again my experiences with Disneyland, where I used to work. Because you know what? I worked in food and then I worked as a bartender. It's the closest thing I got to compare it to. I also worked at Target, but I was just a cashier. And in any cases where you had to stock things and you had to check inventory, the checklist was a page, maybe two, with a dozen items at most. 108 items on the checklist? Are you nuts? I don't know. That seems very, very extreme. Let's see here. All the employees spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. Very wise call. Whole Foods did not respond to requests or comment on the story, and they probably won't because it's Amazon. I mean, keep in mind, Amazon has been accused of violating human rights in their working conditions for years. They have never responded except to say, our employees are happy. I can guarantee you they're not. Scorecards and tests force employees to comply with new rules. Whole Food enforces compliance with OTS by instructing managers to regularly walk through store aisles and storage rooms with checklists called scorecards to make sure every item is in its right place, according to nearly 80 pages of internal company documents reviewed by Business Insider. And as you can see, this is what the checklist looks like, and I can tell you already, like, let's enlarge this. Let's see if we can enlarge this. This seems extremely, like, we have a cleaning schedule, and there is a check for if a couple other lists are being followed. Is the load fully broke to the standard? Is products being codated? Is the rotation board being followed accordingly? Like, no, whoa. I can already tell you right now, this is way overboard. This is super, super overboard. And it just dawned on me that today's episode, I had planned like 3 stories for this, but no, I have to focus on just this. What's number 12? Do all items on sales floor have accurate signage? Do all signs follow global standard? Is the end of the day backstock case count recorded each evening prior to... Whoa. I mean, okay, now guys, I know this doesn't sound like a whole lot, but keep in mind, this takes a little bit longer to do than you might realize. And of course, this is the kind of asinine list requirement that only an executive who has never actually worked these kind of jobs, doesn't realize how long it takes to do these things, would make up. And there's 80 pages? Jeez. So let's go back to the article. If anything is amiss or there is too much excess stock in storage, departments lose points on their scorecards. Quote, every item in our department has a designated spot that is labeled or marked, an employee of a Colorado Whole Food store said. If that item is even an inch outside of its designated spot, we receive negative marks. An inch. Now, that they might be exaggerating just a little bit, but it is Amazon. I wouldn't be surprised. The walks also involve on-the-spot quizzes in which employees are asked to recite their department's sales goals, top-selling items, previous week's sales, and other information. Failing scores, which qualify as anything below 89.9%, can result in firings, employees said. And this is what I wanted to talk about the most, because in terms of Amazon, I have very much experience with this, even though I've never personally worked for the company. I am aware of their method of this high score, high satisfaction, just crummy thing where it's like, well, anyway, here's the thing. 89.9% seems really critical and really punitive, and it is. But I have to say, they're actually kind of lucky, because as an Amazon seller, do you know how much your percentage has to be perfect to maintain a seller account on Amazon? 98%. Like, really. That means if you sell 10 items and one person has an issue and they make a complaint or they leave a negative feedback or whatever, you lose your seller account. And they don't care. You can appeal it, but it's very unlikely they would actually give it back. So, yeah, I am very familiar with this. So that's, first of all, Amazon's high standards don't actually result in anything being higher quality because obviously people are quitting. But another thing is, like, why would you... It has never been a good thing to threaten people with their jobs to get them to do stuff. They usually do a poor job and they're just scared, and they'll usually quit out of stress anyway. Threatening to fire people over things like this has never worked, and it never will, and I wish companies would realize that. But on the other hand, Bezos, who owns Amazon and Whole Foods, also bought the Washington Post, and he's doing very similar things like this to the Washington Post employees, and people who used to love working there, now they pretty much hate it because of Bezos. So, store managers conduct these tests internally, referred to as walks, twice weekly, according to the company documents. Corporate employees from Whole Foods regional offices also carry out walks once monthly, and ultimately stores must pass a walk conducted by executives from Whole Foods global headquarters in Austin, Texas. And you see, here's the other thing. The fact that this test is going through several eyes shows just how much Amazon is truly spying on their employees and putting the pressure on them, because I think a sane manager would look at this and maybe give them a pass on a couple things. He might, if that little canned bean, whatever it is just a little out of place, he'll probably just move it, go up to move it and pass it. But because it's being filmed and because there's other people watching, you got to get a demerit for that. Kind of reminds me when I first took my driver's license test and couldn't find the emergency light button, and that cost me a point. I thought that was really unfair. Still passed, but whatever. Employees who spoke with Business Insider have said the walks have instilled fear across every department of Whole Foods stores. Well, yeah, you're in judgment and you could lose your job. I wake up in the middle of the night from nightmares about maps and inventory and when regional leadership is going to come in and see one thing wrong and fail the team. Whoa. They fail the team? Not just the one person, the team? Whoa, no wonder, because if someone else screws up, then your butt's on the line. The stress has created such a tense working environment, seeing someone cry at work is becoming normal, and that's wrong. And by the way, I even kind of sympathize because when I worked at Fry's Electronics, they stress getting Fry's credit cards all the time, and it was not uncommon for me to lose hours, sometimes not even work a whole week because I didn't get any credit cards signed up. And so you start to stress about that, and you have nightmares about these stupid cards. The maps this employee referred to are diagrams drawn up by Whole Foods corporate office that dictate where every item in the store should be placed. Yep, corporate office. Big shock. The fear of chastisement, punishment, and retribution is very real and pervasive, said another workers. And here's the thing. Then it gets to the part of how the old system was outdated and it needed to be refreshed. And again, I can understand that. I can truly understand that. I'm kind of just skimming to see if there's anything else. Here's the most important thing. Many Whole Foods employees at the corporate and store level still don't understand how OTS works, employees said. And yet this system will cost people their jobs. Are you kidding me? And they can't even fully explain it. Quote, OTS has confused so many smart, logical, and experienced individuals. The befuddlement is now a thing, a life all of its own. It's a collective confusion, constantly changing, no clear answers to the questions that never were until now. An employee of North Carolina Whole Foods said no one really knows this business model. And those who are doing the scorecards, even regional leadership, are not clear on practices and consequently are constantly providing the department leaders with inaccurate directions. All this comes at a time when labor has been reduced to an unachievable level given the requirements of the OTS model. There's lack of training that's mentioned. Others said it appeared that whoever wrote the program had no experience working in stores. Well, of course they don't. Amazon This experience is in online business and shipping. And they're just not going to know how to run a store, period. I mean, they might run an effective online community, but if look up on YouTube, like working conditions at Amazon facilities, and prepare to be amazed at how inhumane it is. In the beginning, we actually had a checklist where one task was to initial what you initialed off another task, said one employee who was involved in OTS training. She said that duty was quickly dropped, but that it was an embellishment of how the implication of OTS has gone. The nano management is downright insane. And if they are now asking if you work for Whole Foods and have information to share, email this person, and I highly encourage anyone who might have it to do so. This is not surprising, to be perfectly honest. I expected this. Again, Amazon workers live in a working hell. People at the Washington Post say they have hated it ever since Jeff Bezos have bought it, and now we see people who have worked at Whole Foods, sometimes a couple decades, just nope, I can't do it. And as an Amazon seller who has had to put up with their stupid metric system that penalizes you for every little thing, even if it's not your fault, I can understand that Amazon is heartless and they do not care. And ultimately, this is why I stopped shopping at Whole Foods. I don't shop at Amazon. Once they bought Whole Foods, I was actually pretty mad because it's like, darn it, I can't ever shop there again. And I won't. I will not. And you know what? It used to be friendly. When I went there, people were friendly. They knew what they were doing. And it sounds like that's not going to be the case. And maybe that's just the best in Amazon's eyes. Amazon wants to replace everyone's drones anyway. Heck, they have that Amazon Go store where it's like, yeah, you don't even have cashiers. They don't want employees. So, I don't know. What do you folks think? Does any of this surprise you? Does it disappoint you? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a patron member for $1 a month. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.